And we're live. Welcome back to the LOOPcast. It's Tom and Erica. Josh, of course, is probably eating paella, getting sun from the Spanish coast. And just,
well, I believe the update this morning was he has just hit the 100-kilometer mark.
whoa,
I don't know
getting
what
his
that
steps in.
means. Yeah, maybe it means he's gone 100 kilometers or he's like 100 kilometers from the end, but he's at 100 kilometers. So big props to Josh.
Josh is going to come in with sweet calves that you can't see because you can't see the lower half of our frame here, the LOOPcast. But
that's right.
He's having a great time. Eric and I are holding it down. Yeah. Warm welcome to everyone here in the chat. I see someone is from Baraboo, Wisconsin, which I've never heard of before, but shout out Baraboo, Wisconsin.
Maybe it's Baraboo, like caribou. That would be kind of cool.
If people have tuned in long enough, I just read a lot and I don't talk it. Well, I do yap a lot, but I just read words and then in my head, that's how it's pronounced. And then I pronounce words that I know incorrectly. My mom makes fun of me for it. Mm-hmm. It's bad. Anyway, the LOOPcast brought to you by The Loop, every American Catholic's favorite newsletter. And I think today's an especially good episode for this because the top story today, I just made it the entire title. I could not believe how this story was just buried. I mean, this happened October 3rd, and there was a man outside of a DC church that was supposed to be the Red Mass.
Matthew's Cathedral, right?
To bless SCOTUS on their upcoming term and to speak to everyone in DC. And there was a man with hundreds of explosives out front and a manifesto. And I couldn't believe that we work at CatholicVote, we're covering this kind of thing. And so we're going to get into all of that. We're going to get into the Supreme Court. It's going to be a good Supreme Court episode, taking on a case about conversion therapy, which is a word that I almost forgot about until now. So SCOTUS is taking up the ban on that in Colorado. Erica has all the details there. But of course, we have good news. We have Twilight Zone. It's going to be a great episode.
We're going to have fun.
We're going to have a lot of fun today. I also have a special episode Friday. I'm going to tease a little bit before. I got to talk to a nuclear engineer about his studies of the Shroud of Turin. I can't wait. I'm in the middle of editing it.
I love a good Shroud of Turin. I love it.
Not to say I was a Shroud hater, but I actually just think it's a marketing problem because why not just call it the burial cloth of Jesus? I think that would be like, oh, that makes sense. But you hear Shroud of Turin, like, what does that even mean? It could be like a dust
Shroud
cloud.
Literally is that. You just said the thing that a shroud is.
Right, but Turin, anyway, we'll get into all of it. It's going to be great. But before we do, first we have Ave Maria Mutual Funds. First off, I really appreciate our sponsors. They make the show possible. Thank you to everyone for supporting the show. But the reason we could do it is because people like Ave Maria Mutual Funds. So today's LOOPcast sponsor, now more than ever, Catholics want to align their investments with their moral beliefs. And a great way to do this is by investing in the pro-life, pro-family mutual funds from Ave Maria. The professionals at Ave Maria have a morally responsible investment philosophy that's aligned with Catholic teaching. In their search for attractive investments, they apply moral screens to eliminate companies that engage in support for abortion, pornography, embryonic stem cell research, or that make corporate contributions to Planned Parenthood. And so there's an advisory board composed of prominent Catholics and meets regularly to guide the fund's choice of moral criteria. Since its founding in 2001, Ave Maria has become the largest Catholic mutual fund family in the United States. It now manages over $3.8 billion in assets for Catholics and other investors who have pro-life, pro-family values. So start your morally responsible investment journey today by visiting AveMariaFunds.com/loopcast in the link below. The good people at Ave Maria will send you a free information kit, and you can also get the kit by calling 1-866-AVE-MARIA and use the promo code LOOPcast. That's 1-866-AVE-MARIA or clicking the link below. Always love having Ave Maria Mutual Funds.
Yep, I love it. I'm not a professional, financial person, clearly. I this so outside of my comfort zone. It is great to have somewhere you can go where okay, they know what they're doing. They know what I believe. It's going to be good. So thank you, Ave Maria, making this possible.
Big thank you to Ave Maria Mutual Funds. Go check them out. And then before we get into the show, Charity Mobile, the OG sponsor, always has a special place in my heart. Now more than ever, of course, it's important to buy the way that you believe and do business with companies that support what you stand for. And that's why you should switch your cell phone service to Charity Mobile, the pro-life cell phone company. They send 5% of your monthly plan price to the pro-life, pro-family charity of your choice at no extra cost to you. And unlike mobile carriers that resort to gimmicks to retain customers, Charity Mobile doesn't do 3-year price locks because they have never raised their mobile plan prices in their 30-year history, and all plans start under $50 before taxes and surcharges. You can save even more money on every line you add, making them a perfect choice for families. Also, new customers can use promo code LOOPcast to get a free phone with every new line, plus free activation and free shipping, or you can bring your own compatible devices. You'll enjoy the same nationwide coverage as the big guys, and their live customer service is based right here in the US of A. To get started, visit CharityMobile.com and use promo code LOOPcast That's CharityMobile.com, promo code LOOPcast. Thank you, Charity Mobile, for sponsoring
Love
the show.
it. Thank you, guys.
All right, Erica, shall we dive in?
Yeah, let's do it. What's
Awesome.
up first?
So I would first like to credit Luke Rosiak. I used a lot of his reporting for two stories that are going to be in our A block today, specifically this, and I'll share my screen for the visual here. He's a great investigative reporter. He does a lot of good things on Catholics as well. So man with 200 explosives and leftist manifesto arrested outside Supreme Court event at church. This is according to police. So here's the gentleman who was arrested. I'll get into a little bit of the background. So this man's name is Louis Jerry. He is a 41-year-old from Arizona and New Jersey. He was apprehended outside the Cathedral of St. Matthew the Apostle. Beautiful church, by the way.
Yeah.
I was stunned when I was in there. On October 5th, the same day the church held its annual Red Mass, in which a cardinal prays for the High Court as it embarks on a new term, and which is historically attended by justices. Justices such as Amy Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Clarence Thomas, prominent Catholic. I think Alito probably too, but yes, it's kind of understood that Supreme Court justices attend. So a member of the Metropolitan Police Department's bomb squad found this man, said that he needed to move because of a special event. He replied, "I'm aware of that," referring to the Red Mass. Police wrote, and threatened to throw a bomb into the street as a demonstration, adding, "I have 100+ of them."
Oh.
Police said they would remove him against his will, and he replied, "Several of your people are going to die from one of these." With a lighter in one hand, he handed them 9 pieces of paper that amounted to a manifesto entitled "Written Negotiations for Avoidance of Destruction of Property via Detonation of Explosives." The manifesto reveals his significant animosity towards the Catholic Church, members of the Jewish faith, members of SCOTUS, and ICE facilities, police wrote, indicating that the incident may be the latest in a string of left-wing domestic terrorism. On Monday, reviewing the bombs more carefully, police filed an affidavit from a bomb tech saying that there were over 200 devices recovered from D1's tent. He was in a tent outside of the church. There was a strong smell of acetone emitting from some of the vials. Some of the liquid was determined to be nitromethane. The liquid appeared to be multiple chemicals mixed together, none in original containers. The devices appeared to be fully functional.
And this was October 3rd.
Yeah.
You're telling me. Today's the 8th.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking into the reporting on this, and it was just stunning the way that this was buried. So the Washington Post finally picked it up after the weekend and buried it. They made it a local news events. Right. And this was a intended hate crime to kill multiple people, including Supreme Court justices, at an event that they're known to attend. How is this not? This is to me, this should be the top story on the front page. Well, if J6 is going to dominate headlines for years, why is this not top interest?
Yeah,
are we just immune to it?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a continuation of a string of violence that has just kind of become normalized against Supreme Court justices. But fortunately, no justices attended the Mass this year because of security concerns.
Right, because of the threat.
which appear to be justified.
Yes.
Last year, 3 justices, all conservative, attended: John Roberts, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. In 2018, leftists were photographed protesting the Mass with signs that said "Stop Kavanaugh." Mm-hmm. This is referring to the false smear peddled by Democrat senators that Kavanaugh was a gang rapist. So, yeah, I was shocked by the unusually light reporting on this. And what's interesting, it kind of opened another can of worms. And a lot of people are saying that partially why someone would be this coordinated, this brazen, and feel comfortable with this kind of attack is because we've had unusually light sentencing on threats against SCOTUS. If you can remember, the Brett Kavanaugh would-be assassin showed up with a sawed-off shotgun and a manifesto as well. So there's an update on that. And again, I want to give Luke Rosiak a lot of credit for his investigative reporting here. So this came just a few days after we get this really unusually light sentence. And I really wanted to dig into this because I do remember seeing this on the news that someone had showed up that was attempting to kill Justice Kavanaugh when he was about to be confirmed. So some more details on this, which is really unusual. The man who planned to kill Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in 2022 in an attempt to change the court's balance of power was sentenced by a Joe Biden-appointed judge on Friday to 97 months in prison, granting the defendant's request for an 8-year sentence. Judge Deborah Boardman, a Joe Biden appointee to Maryland federal court, acknowledged that there was a whopping 22-year difference between that and the minimum of 30 years called for by federal sentencing guidelines. Prosecutors had asked for sentencing guidelines to be followed. So the prosecutors were like, hey, he threatened the Supreme Court justice, about to become Supreme Court justice, in order to change the balance of court. I mean, pretty textbook political assassination, political violence. Said, hey, it's just 30 years, right? Like 30 years is the standard.
That's the standard. He had the weapons. He had the means to execute it. He was like at the doorstep. This is what you sentence him for. You don't even have to think about it, Judge.
Yeah, and so the Department of Justice is, Pam Bondi's already been out. Like, we're going to appeal this. Like, this is insane. But I was curious, how did it get down to 8, and what was the strategy from the defendant's team to try to lower the sentence? So a little bit of detail. I went back into the case myself, and so Nicholas Roski is the name of the individual. Traveled from California to Kavanaugh's Maryland home, armed with a cache of weapons after leaked documents showed that the court planned to rule against liberals on abortion, which we still don't know who leaked that document, which is insane.
Don't know that. Yeah.
This is the leaked document that Dobbs was going to be ruled on, and where the justice, I believe it had opinions in there too.
It had drafts. Draft
opinions.
Yep.
And although he meticulously planned the assassination for months, according to him, he had a change of heart outside the conservative justice home and called the police to turn himself in. He had been detained in the 3 years since, so with time served and good behavior, Roski's sentence would mean he could be out for 4 years, out 4 years after being sentenced on the charge to attempt. This is according to the new sentencing guideline of 8 years.
Yep.
So I was thinking, okay, he turned himself in, change of heart. Like, that's good. Maybe that is what they're trying to lean on to lower this 30-year sentence. But according to, I was looking back into the case, and again, shout out to Luke Rosiak on this. So we have the sentencing took more than 7 hours, with much of the time dedicated to discussing how Roski's transgender identity meant he should get a lighter sentence.
Oh, here we go.
More than an hour-long speech justifying the light sentence. Boardman said, Miss Roski came out, and again, the judge kind of went back and forth the entire case, basically saying, I did it wrong. What should I do? I believe the prosecutors just said, they just sidestepped it all together and was like the person who's being charged. Ms. Roski came out, and again, this is a direct quote. So this is a biological man who's transitioning to female. Ms. Roski came out to herself as transgender in 2020, but kept it secret. Ms. Roski's sister came out as gay 2 years prior, but Ms. Roski saw that their parents struggled to reconcile her sexuality with their religious beliefs. Quote, I am heartened that this terrible infraction has helped Roski family accept their daughter for who she is.
What?
His mother, Colleen, told the judge on Friday, I have attended PFLAG meetings and learned about the LGBTQ plus community. I am committed to going on this journey with Sophie. This is the name,
Nicholas,
the name change from Nicholas.
Right.
She was frustrated with what was going on in the world, and we weren't a safe place to process it. Boardman said any prison time is punishment for her. The length doesn't need to be particularly long. Unduly harsh conditions make a difference too, the judge continued. She will be imprisoned in a male facility, even though she is a transgender prisoner, pursuant to the executive order from the president. Before the executive order, this wasn't the case. Earlier in this hearing, Boardman lashed out at prosecutors and President Donald Trump, saying, let's not hide the fact that President Trump issued an executive order saying transgender inmates would be assigned to prisons with their biological sex.
So wait, if I understand correctly.
Yeah.
The reason for the lenient sentence of 8 years it's really President Trump's fault. Because if he hadn't said that biological males who identify as females have to be housed in male prisons, the judge would not have been as lenient, because it's going to be so hard for a male to be in a male prison. What? I'm so turned around. So it's really Trump's fault.
Right. But the strategy of the defendant's team was, let's make this about a coming out story that struggled with identity, this and that. They actually went through the digital footprint of this individual. And I mean, some of it I can't even talk about. But Roski has been posting on Reddit before the shooting. And I think I have from Luke here, he is one of a string of violent trans-identifying individuals who are obsessed with video games and leftist politics. In one, he said that he was a trans gamer girl seeking friend. In another, he was, and I can't even really say the sentence, he was into some really extreme sexual fantasies that he was very public about. Like the boyfriend of Tyler Robinson, who allegedly assassinated Charlie Kirk, Roski was apparently a furry. And on May 20th, 2022, he asked Reddit users, the Roe v. Wade leak has brought a lot of attention to the Supreme Court and what it is capable of. If going into the future, the Supreme Court retains the same members, what is a realistic expectation for the future? On the other hand, if a conservative judge were replaced by a liberal judge, thus changing which party has the majority, what would change? And then finally, he posted in Reddit's forensics forum claiming to be a novelist, quote, writing a killer who is obsessed with not leaving evidence. What methods could they use?
Unbelievable. I mean, there's so much going on here. It's hard to even begin to tease it apart. But basically, you have this guy, this very disturbed individual who has turned himself in. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. Like, he's already written the confession and everything. It's like, how do I mitigate this? Well, if I plead as a woman, if I decide I'm a woman, then I'll get less of a sentence. Is that like, that was the play here?
That was
like,
the strategy of the attorneys.
Of the attorneys, for sure. And then you have this legitimately disturbed guy. And he says it right here with Kavanaugh, with replacing Kavanaugh. The idea was, if we can assassinate Barrett or Kavanaugh or Alito before the decision drops, we could change the tide with Dobbs. That was because Joe Biden was in the White House at the time. So you knew anyone who replaced them would be, KBJ,
I said it in the Reddit post.
Ketanji Brown Jackson levels of constitutionality. The thing with the attempt on the red mass, had those justices been there and had this perpetrator been able to explode those devices and kill justices, Trump's in the White House now. So the idea is they would be replaced by. So that didn't even have this level of strategy going on behind it. It was just pure lashing out and pure hatred. I mean, we talked a lot about the uptick in leftist violence and the permissiveness of the culture of rhetoric of labeling everyone fascist, of labeling everyone like Orange Hitler.
Yeah.
That gives a permission to people who are on these margins of Discord and Reddit and living these miserable lives to actually act out violently.
Yeah.
We saw it in Boston too. Last night there were riots in Boston of Palestinian protesters. They were like celebrating October 7th and the 2-year anniversary of the slaughter of Jews, and they're out there protesting. I mean, police were put in the hospital. It's out of control. This is completely out of control.
If I could zoom out here for a second.
Do it.
So the reason why we're so shocked that they're not following just the general guideline on this is because I know what the government is capable of. I saw them detain J6 people that were just walking around outside the Capitol.
We had sentences of 22
no trial.
years.
22 years.
22 years.
Right. I know so that's kind of the thing that's so funny. It's like, well, we try to do that for everyone. No, you don't. I saw what you were capable of, and I know what our judiciary is capable of. I mean, we're basically in a situation where we have like judicial overthrow of what the president's trying to do. And yeah, he's forcing the issue for sure, but I think for good reason. We have people, so two things. On the ground level, we have institutionalized mental illness in a way that is clearly dangerous to society. This person, Noah Roski, is, by their own digital footprint, clearly mentally ill, doing things that are damaging to themselves, living a bizarre online life that has nothing but despair at the end of that tunnel. And we have one of the most depressed generations ever coming up, after we have supposed all this material wealth, right? And part of the problem is because we've changed a lot of the medical dogma to try to accommodate to people who are clearly mentally ill. That's number one. Number two is, like you said, we have people clearly painting a target, right? Like, we had people tracking Kavanaugh's locations. People were protesting outside of his home, which was a norm that was basically smashed with Kavanaugh. Apparently now that's acceptable behavior. Like, we just keep pushing the line further and further and further and further and further and further. And we've now pushed it even further by lightening a sentence for showing up, threatening to assassinate a Supreme Court justice. And I saw the judge in this case even said, well, the judge isn't political, as if somehow that would make this any worse. Like, we live in an assassination culture right now, and we have been riling up people who are clearly mentally ill and not helping them and giving them the help that they need because we're not giving them truth or charity, right? So it's just this ultimate powder keg. This guy shows up outside of Mass knowing Supreme Court justices are going to be there, and this is the precedent set that somehow this is, you're not going to be treated the way that you should be treated, like for the common good. You need to be put away for a long time to send a signal to the country of what's acceptable and not acceptable. Like we are really flirting with so many dangerous things right now in terms of this
100%.
assassination culture. It's like two things. We got a huge powder keg. Here we are. I mean, it's just obvious.
Well, in another instance of it, we covered this on Monday, but there have been more developments in the Jay Jones case, who's the Democratic Attorney General candidate for the state of Virginia, who fantasized about, shooting one of his Republican colleagues twice in the head with bullets, and then watching his colleagues' children die in their mother's arms in order to like change his political opinion or something.
Yep.
And not only that, but we found out yesterday that that prior to this, he'd been tweeting about, we need to like get rid of police officers. We need to kill police officers because they're enforcing these laws. I mean, he still is running for attorney general, the top law enforcement officer in one of the like biggest states on the East Coast. Like it's insane to me that his rhetoric, the assassination, and you said assassination culture, people are going to be like, okay, well, Rocky was crazy. Louis Jerry, this 41-year-old in front of St. Matthew's Cathedral, they're all crazy. Like these are one-offs. They're not connected. You're like, but your party is running a guy who fantasizes about killing the children of his political opponents, who fantasizes about killing police officers. And you're like, well, that, he's not crazy, but it's also like, we all do that. Who among us has not regretted a tweet that they put out,
Yeah.
It's that permissiveness and allowance.
I mean, look, this all to me was set in motion by the Luigi Mangione thing. Like it's a slippery slope, of course. And I was really just shocked at how many people were comfortable publicly saying support of assassinating anyone, let alone like a CEO is kind of like, I feel like people are like, oh, well, that's not as bad. That's not like, as if somehow like that was okay. And there's a really big portion of the population that was like, yep, cheering it on. This is really good. This is what is necessary for change. I mean, we watched that interview Ross had with Hassan Piker, who is like the biggest snake oil salesman of all time, like confronted with, I'm surprised Ross, he did a good job with it, but like, I've never seen someone kind of slide around. Well, I didn't mean that. Well, it was metaphorical when talking about murdering people right. For change to be necessary. And like, how many examples do we need in history? I mean, I guess history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Like, yes, we have real revolutionaries amidst us that are very comfortable with political violence to enact change. They think it's a part of the formula. And when you say turn the temperature down, it's like these people actually don't want to. They want radical change. And then they're happy to kind of convince stooges to go do the heavy work, right? And the stooges being people that are clearly mentally ill. And we don't have solutions for it in society right now because we can't be honest with them. It really is. I'm really
can't be honest with them, and we can't even follow our own sentencing guidelines for them, right?
Right.
This is unserious. Yeah, this is an unserious judge who's able because the judiciary system, she has no accountability at this point. And if anyone were to hold her accountable to these sentencing guidelines, thank God Pam Bondi's going to go after this because it's ridiculous. Yeah. But if we were to hold her accountable, it would be like, oh my gosh, Trump is prosecuting judges. What next? That would be the whole narrative, is that he's the one crossing. Somehow it's Trump who's crossing these lines and checks and balances and disregarding the separation of powers, when you're like, well, what is she doing?
It's classic abuser psychology. Like I'm going to get to it with the Chicago stuff, but that's all the same arguments are being made right now. It's like we completely abandoned rule of law, and somehow it's your fault for agitating. Like I'll get into that situation, but like if you were to ask me right now, and if Josh was on the show, I'm sure he'd have strong thoughts. But like, is this going to get better? I don't know. I unfortunately don't know. It's a really uphill battle, and if I wasn't religious, if I wasn't Catholic, I would be pretty black pill on all of this, because like I know this isn't our home, and I know there's a real spiritual evil going on in the country, and I do believe in the power of prayer and in our community. But on an institutional level, it's going to get nasty. I think it's going to get nastier before it gets better, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was listening to the editors over at National Review, and I think Rich Lowry posed to the guys. He was like, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how optimistic are you that this is going to get better. Like Pam Bondi's going to come in and like save the day and get rule of law back and fair application of sentencing guidelines. And I was surprised at how bleak all of them put it. I think that the top score was a 6 among all of those guys. And yeah, I'm not far behind them. I'm not very, I guess like my hope is in the name of the Lord. I love seeing the Charlie Kirk effect. The signs that Gen Z is returning to the faith in droves that were unanticipated, that the rise of the nones seems to have stopped. But that is a spiritual and cultural hope. And I think generations from now, that could redound into institutional reform. But I think you're right that we got to buckle down here. We got to buckle down and be clear-eyed and not despairing, but realistic and pragmatic about what we're going to be facing the next few years. Because
pragmatism is key, and I don't think what you're saying is unrelated. Like in a world full of chaos and things that don't make sense, I think there's a lot of people that feel very politically homeless right now. You brought up Pam Bondi. Like they are clearly not being honest to us about the Epstein files. And that was kind of the big backbreaker, I think, of everyone that's like, oh, they're going to clean up the DOJ. They're going to, and then of course you get the Charlie Kirk stuff and they're like a little sketchy on that, in my opinion too. So I think there's a lot of people that now feel like, oh, I'm homeless. Like I don't even.
I had a really cool conversation last night. Actually, I went out and had dinner with, I love Todd with the kids. Thank you, Todd. Shout out to the man. But I went out with a friend who'd reached out to me, and we've been friends a very long time. She calls me her homeschooling friend, and I call her my non-homeschooling friend. And she is considered more left of center when it comes to like the church and all that. Although at this point, I'm like, you're not even left. But we had a good conversation just about all of these questions. And she made the point. I asked her, I said, well, do you feel politically homeless? And she's like, absolutely. I feel totally politically homeless at this point. And she said, going into the election last fall, I was looking at the options, like what could happen either way. And she's like, well, if Harris is elected, it's going to call for one kind of Christian witness. But if Trump's elected, it's going to call for another kind of Christian witness. And the bottom line is, that is the story of being Catholic in the world, in the polis, and active politically. It's no matter who's in power, we don't put our trust in princes and principalities. So I thought she made a good point there.
Yeah. Okay. I always love dinner conversations with Erica.
I know, right? That's fun.
Before we get into the next section,
we have home title lock. One of my favorites. Here we go. Did you know that American homeowners have over $32 trillion in equity? As Donald Trump would say, that's a lot of cash. That's a lot of money. And criminals are targeting it with a growing scam the FBI calls appropriately house stealing. Scammers can transfer your title out of your name using a one-page document they file at the county. Then they can take out loans against it or even sell it behind your back. And the scariest part is you won't find out about it until the collection notices start arriving in your mailbox, leaving you with a nightmare you really don't need. The best way to protect your equity is with Home Title Lock's exclusive $1 million triple lock protection. This service offers 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if fraud should occur, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title. Other companies won't do this. Home Title Lock, they're with you all the way. So when was the last time you checked on your title if you were like me before I learned all of these scary things? The answer is never. And that's exactly what scammers are counting on. The good news is we here at LOOPcast have partnered with Home Title Lock to offer you all 60 days for just $1. Click the link in the description below or in the chat and use our promo code LOOP60 to get 60 days for just $1. And you will also get a free title history report to ensure you're not already a victim. Make sure you check out the $1 million triple lock protection details when you get there. Click the link below and promo code LOOP60. Thank you, Home Title Lock.
Awesome. And I see a lot of people in the chat talking about praying rosaries right now.
Yes.
And I will be the first to say on the show, it has been the most transformational daily spiritual practice of my entire life. And I almost am ashamed it took me so long to start praying one on a daily basis because maybe my life was too good or I was distracted or whatever. Picked it up over the last year. I cannot emphasize enough. If you haven't picked one up in a little while, pick one up now. Now's the time. I really don't know how I'd do the show, how I would be a father, how I would navigate professional world, how I navigate news without a concrete spiritual practice like praying the rosary. So if you haven't in a while, now's the time.
100%.
I'll be the first to say.
Yeah, and it's really cool how many influencers are saying things like online right now. Like I've been prompted to say the whole rosary again every day. Like Daniel Bean just put it out there. Matt Fradd was talking about it, and same with our family too. Like Todd just took some like spiritual fatherhood on and was like, we're going to start doing the whole thing now. And as a family with many children, we had been doing a decade for most of our married life because
Good for you.
toddlers. But Todd, he like took the reins. He's like, we got to start doing this. And yeah, it's been amazing.
Dude, we're hopefully get more Todd shout outs.
Little ad for the rosary. Is Our Lady sponsoring this episode? Because I'm here for
hopefully.
it.
I hope so. I sure hope so. Okay, Erica, get me into this.
Okay.
So first off, I think the headline when I saw it about conversion therapy,
It's
I'm like,
not
oh,
the headline. But it's another headline.
The most evil practice of all time. I mean, the way that it was branded was like, this is terrible.
Conversion
I should never do
therapy.
it. So first off, what is conversion therapy and why is the Supreme Court taking up something regarding it?
Yeah, I'm actually going to do it backwards. I'm going to take up the Supreme Court case and then I'm going to use that to explain conversion therapy.
Go for it.
Because like you, I have a very bad taste in my mouth when I hear that. It turns out it's because my whole adult life it's been talked down. But so the Supreme Court, because they hadn't been blown up in St. Matthew's Cathedral, heard oral arguments in Chiles v. Salazar. Licensed counselor Kaylee Chiles from Colorado is contesting her state's law that bans conversion therapy. This law goes back to 2019, and it bans conversion therapy for minors. Broadly, it forbids all counselors from seeking to change or reduce same-sex attraction or gender dysphoria. So that's the really important key here. It's going to come back. Chiles is represented by Alliance Defending Freedom, our good friends at the ADF. Shout out.
I mean, they're involved in all the best stuff.
They're the best.
I'm like, okay, yeah.
They're
awesome.
just the
Shout out
best.
ADF.
Yeah. And we've both interviewed people from them, really awesome people.
Mm-hmm.
She says that the law violates her First Amendment free speech rights. Now, Colorado came back at her, and they're saying that the ban is not about free speech. It's about professional conduct to protect LGBTQ plus IA youth from practices deemed harmful by the medical establishment and ineffective. And in fact, yes, back in the Obama years, we had the APA, the AMA, the psych, all of the major institutions saying conversion therapy is harmful. And professional conduct, of course, is a legal category that states can regulate. It's not protected by the First Amendment. Oral arguments were a trip yesterday. I got to listen to some of them. Those of you who have watched for a while, I love watching this stuff. They indicate, of course, a majority of the justices think the Colorado law is actually in violation of the First Amendment. And this could be a massive ruling because right now we have 20 states that ban conversion therapy along the same lines as Colorado. So this would have widespread implications. Little play-by-play, Justice Sotomayor, one of my favorites, suggested that there's no imminent threat, so Chiles, the counselor, doesn't have standing because no one's actually going after her. And Colorado says, well, we have this law, but we're not going to enforce it. Obviously, Chiles is actually under active investigation by the state right now, so that went out the window. Justice Jackson suggested that maybe the First Amendment is about conveying messages, and this isn't conveying messages. So messages, it was very, that poor woman, someone needs to teach her about the First Amendment.
Yeah.
But Barrett and Gorsuch were very solid, very good, very targeted, asking about strict scrutiny, First Amendment protecting professionals, and talking about how what Colorado has actually done with this law is dictate what speech professionals are allowed to make. So it's actually saying that you can only say these certain things if you are this particular type of medical practitioner. You're not allowed to say these other things. Justice Clarence Thomas questioned the historical basis for regulating mental health professionals' speech separately from medicine. And Alito did my favorite moment of the day. He asked the Colorado lawyer, he was like, wouldn't you say that ideology has influenced medicine and medical laws in the past? And the Colorado lawyer's like, well, I guess it's possible. And then Alito went on to list all of these cases sterilizing people with developmental disabilities, institutionalizing people with Down syndrome, and emphasizing that the First Amendment plays a really important role in protecting dissenting voices from the medical establishment, and which eventually those voices allow for actual science to be applied to the question. The Colorado state attorney would not acknowledge the points that Alito was making. So really
Again,
interesting.
Nothing like the most radicalizing event of my life and probably ever will be COVID, right?
Yeah,
because I distinctly remember
right,
that dissenting voices
silencing
turned out
dissent.
to be completely correct on everything.
Yeah. And it turns out that when it comes to so-called gender affirming care, dissenting voices are really important right now.
Yep.
They also noted that Colorado's law is asymmetrical because it permits counseling. It permits counselors, talk therapists to affirm gender dysphoria and say, you're right, you're in the wrong body without parental consent. But it bars counselors who are seeking to help children who want to realign with their biological sex from encouraging them to do so. So it's a very asymmetrical law. Okay, so it looks like the ruling is going to go in favor of free speech, First Amendment rights, because we have amazing justices. But this brought up the question, okay, how did we get to this point? What is conversion therapy? And what should it even be allowed, right? So I did some research into conversion therapy, and we're talking about, I'm going to frame it as an issue of concept creep in psychology, coupled with the classic bait and switch attack. So what happened is the Colorado law includes measures as extreme as electric shock and removing parts of the brain, right? You think of like the, cutting out the front of the line.
We did used to lobotomize people. I don't think for being gay, but that used to be actual standard medical science.
So this law includes extreme measures like that actually are physically harmful.
Yeah.
And talk therapy, where a child experiencing gender dysphoria is helped to align their feelings again with their body. So it's a very broad category. And the concept creep is that throughout the Obama administration years, as the campaign to be 100% affirming, quote unquote, of any kind of sexuality, any kind of gender identity, they just kept adding in practices to the category of conversion therapy until it was so broad.
Which is genius, by
it's
the
almost
way. Because now if you support it, you
illegal.
support lobotomizing people, right?
Exactly.
Genius.
You are a fascist. And it's just that. Also, the bait and switch of identifying this as okay, pray the gay away is how they would have said it in the 90s when I was growing up. Okay, you're attracted to other men. We're just going to pray over you and convert you and maybe shock you, and eventually you'll like women, which is sort of crazy, right? Yeah. But then they added in also children who think that they're in the wrong body into the same category, which of course gets the LGBT community all up in arms because you added in the T. So it's very, very classic. Efforts to ban it started under Obama. They start redefining these terms. The AMA condemned conversion therapy. And in 2018, the American Academy of Pediatrics, when it came to children, published a policy arguing that conversion therapy to, quote, change a youth's gender expression or identity is not only unsuccessful, but also deleterious. So here's where the other concept creep came in. They redefined harm to be physical, irreversible harm to a child's body to just be anything that was emotionally uncomfortable to the child. And so basically what it was then used by the AAP, so American Academy of Pediatrics, this statement asserted that anything other than affirming gender identity was dangerous to trans youth, meaning emotionally maybe harmful or uncomfortable, that not socially transitioning a child or pushing back on the idea that transitioning would lead to greater happiness was akin to abuse. So they also redefine abuse now. The term conversion therapy was then deployed to remove all checks and balances on gender affirming care. Since then, since 2018, the field exploded and of course is now $1 billion industry globally. So it was kind of amazing to walk back through what I would call now the demonization of conversion therapy, to this expansion of terms, expansion of meaning, until you could disavow anything that would go against the LGBTQ accepted agenda in medicine.
Sorry, can I stop you for a second, because I was just reading through Father James Martin's response on this, which we'll get to. But so was the term conversion therapy not even coined by people doing the work of like providing therapy to people that are, it was coined by opposition. So
It it's hard to say. I was actually looking into that because you start to see it you see it pop up during the Obama years as a negative term, right? As a negative thing. It was hard to say when it started to be used at all. So it could have been that in the 90s when we're talking about like pray the gay away, that
yeah.
it was like, okay, we're going to do therapy that's going to help convert people or change your sexual attraction or your predilections
Mhm.
when it comes to sex. Um, when it became a term of a bad term, like something to be taken out and legally forbidden, then that was definitely during the Obama years.
Okay. And before we get into Father James Martin's response to this,
Yeah.
Courage Ministries, like if there's anyone in our audience right now
Yeah.
that's really struggling with this, because I think what's
Or have
unfortunate in all
children
of
who are
this,
struggling. Right.
yeah, I think what's unfortunate in all of this is this still is an area where people actually need really good, solid pastoral advice on
Yes.
like a heartbreaking issue. Like if you are dealing with same-sex attraction for whatever reason and
Or
like
gender dysphoria.
gender
Right.
dysphoria, like all these things, that's what I think makes me so angry about Father James Martin is he knows what he's doing and he's actually leading people away from
Mhm.
what should be good pastoral care in a sane society. So Courage Ministries, go check them out. They're fantastic. I
Mhm.
think the was it the new bishop in Oregon was Thomas something, I forget his
Sample.
name. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sample. Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
worked with them, and so I maybe just to like even wrap this entire conversation with like these are debates about the First Amendment here, but at its
Mhm.
core, like on the human level, this is something that people need really good, solid pastoral advice that will lead them towards human flourishing and a good relationship in the church community, or just in society in general. So,
Right.
yeah,
And parents need to be able to request help for their struggling children, which is what the Colorado law basically forbids. That even if you are
yeah,
if you're a parent and your child had, say there was some horrible abuse incident, a lot of kids who experience gender dysphoria or even same-sex attraction later in life have some kind of abuse in their childhood.
yeah,
What the Colorado law is saying is if your child comes out of some traumatic experience like that and they are now just confused about their bodies and what they mean and they're uncomfortable in their bodies, parents are not allowed to seek help that would help heal that wound because now it's only forward. Like we are going to glorify their victimhood. We're going to tell them they're now identified permanently with their victimhood. And if you as a parent want to help them heal, you're actually abusing your child. That's the evil of these laws in Colorado and in the 19 other states that have these laws in place. So it's and the work of organizations like Courage is aimed at adult populations. So we're not talking
yeah,
about kids, but the principle remains the that
absolutely.
yeah, it's
And
it's
even okay, so even to
ridiculous.
wrap this all back up, because
Yeah, wrap
Noah,
it in a bow.
the guy Noah, who like I didn't even read his public Reddit activity because it's so
Yeah.
like depraved and like honestly my like heart breaks a little bit for
Yeah.
people that so like could you imagine you're in the situation where your child falls into something like this or
Yeah.
maybe you yourself
It
fall into something like
happens.
this and
Mhm.
like you are alone, isolated, depressed, doing things that harm your body, harm your spirit, harm your will. I mean, like the stuff that he was saying was like how it's almost hard for me to imagine how you could possibly get to that place of such levels of extreme sexual abuse to yourself or to others. But
Right.
people are there. Like there's
Right.
really uh what would I say like predatory forces out there that are pushing you
100%.
towards this as this is somehow a liberation
Well, and that's
for
the
you or
flip side.
yourself, you know?
That's the flip side of the Colorado law is that it silences all voices that say, "You know what? There is healing for this." And it props up. So if someone like Rothke as a child, his parents did bring him to a therapist, the only therapists who would be legally practicing in Colorado would be the ones who are going to pathologize his everyday experience, who are going to say, "You are a victim. You are this way. There is no healing and you're going to continue down this road. It's inevitable. So let's just affirm you all the way down until you're out there assassinating Supreme Court justices." Like that's what the law is doing on the aggressive predatory side that you're describing.
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully this is the end of it all. But yes, Father James Martin then comes out with this unbelievable, well, actually it's completely believable
It's
tweet
completely believable, yeah.
But these are the voices that you're hearing from America Magazine and Outreach. He says a few thoughts about the SCOTUS arguments today. Of course, conversion therapy should be banned. And this of course, it is so sloppy because I think everyone can agree that we shouldn't be electrocuting people or lobotomizing people because they're confused sexually. But he's lumping it in with this woman who has never done any of those things, who just sits and talks to kids and their parents. To begin with, he says it's been rejected by almost every reputable psychiatric and psychological organization. Again, all the same people who are telling us that gender affirming care is
Right.
reversible, that Lupron is fine to give to kids, that the COVID vaccine completely prevented the spread of the disease. So he's just
It's
all
a
the same
sidestep,
talking points. It's like COVID never happened for him. And then he just goes on and on about, I've worked with people who said conversion therapy is bad. And so this show, yeah.
Yeah, I also
But
get
again,
frustrated too with sorry, my weird again. So he said for straight people who don't think it's a good idea or even not a bad idea, sorry, for straight people who think it's a good idea or not, or even not a bad idea, I often say, do you think there's any amount of therapy that can make you gay? Yes. Absolutely. Yes. I think that if you were to show something like, especially
it's
the
called
children,
grooming.
Right. It's called grooming. It happens all the time. And yes, if you had aggressive therapists that wanted to push you in a certain direction and emotionally manipulate you into making acts like that, yes, I've seen it. There's documented examples.
Why do you think, Father James Martin, 40% of students at Brown University identify as gender nonconforming? What do you think that's natural? God made 40% of the kids at Brown that way?
It's heads I win, tails you lose, right? Because at one point they're saying, I remember back in the day, I don't even think this is really a core argument anymore. It's like, oh, you were born that way, right? Like that was even like Lady Gaga had that song, like Born This Way or whatever. Born this way. And everyone's like, oh, well, you can't say anything because people were born this way. But of course, now you get the manifestation of this extreme LGBTQ ideology where they said, no, actually, no one's given anything at birth. You can change. You can go that way. You can come back. You could be a man. You could be a woman. It's all up to you, and it could change all the time.
Defying gravity.
So it's like you can't have it both ways. And then if you're like, oh well, conversion therapy, maybe an element of that would be proper counseling to have someone to be comfortable in their own body, or maybe to have like positive sexuality and rediscover what that means, like in the confines of natural law and what God prescribes for you. No, because they were born that way, right? But it's like you can't have it both ways. They're trying to have it both ways, and I think it's fundamentally destructive to the human person and predatory because we have good organizations coming out and they get attacked on all these same grounds, by the way, for again prescribing like God's natural plan for man and woman in a way that you would be unified and procreative. And it's just so sad. I guess it just really makes me angry because I see how predatory and vindictive. There's a whole cottage industry on this now, and I just don't think it makes anyone happier. I don't think it makes it's not good for anyone. It's not happier for anyone at the end of the day. So that's anyway. Erica, good news now. Bring me up.
Oh, we need some good news. And I actually found good news in the Middle East. I mean, of all places. I was so excited about this. This is actually great news. I didn't even know about this. It came up in the Catholic thing, which is one of my favorite reads. Go subscribe. Catholic University of Erbil in Iraq. I haven't checked in on Iraq in a while. So this school was founded in 2015. And that is, for context, that's the year after ISIS took Mosul. And so Iraq is falling apart, and some guys are like, let's start a Catholic university in northern Iraq when ISIS is running around and could come into the town at any moment. So the Catholic University in Erbil has blossomed. It's gone from 11 students to over 760, much of it thanks to generous scholarships, and it's become a symbol of resilience, rebuilding in this region. It's offering education, but also peace building and this sort of like coexistence culture. Not in the bad sense, but in the good sense that they actually need in northern Iraq, because it's open to students of all faiths. So you have Christians in there, Catholics, Muslims, and Yazidi. And it's described as a vibrant, multi-religious campus in a country that is too often divided by faith. And graduates are already making their mark in Iraq. They're renewing the country in hospitals, NGOs, business, civic life, and bringing with them the values of service, reconciliation, and hope for a better future. And so
That's awesome.
I loved this story because this is exactly what we want. Like this is how countries are renewed. It's not by the CIA going in and doing regime change or something. It's by the people there having the resources that they need to found their own institutions and renew their culture. So great success story. Shout out to Erbil, Iraq.
Catholics doing what Catholics do best. They start schools, they educate, they allow people to flourish. It's awesome.
It is. Well, I didn't know this, but Celine, our producer, she was telling me Franciscan University of Steubenville. I knew this. This Franciscan University has a program in Erbil, so students can go there and teach.
Yeah. I had friends who did that. It was insane. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. We had
the courage on these people too. Like,
yeah.
I have so much respect for. I knew some Franciscan people that went over there and taught and profoundly changed their perspective and understood the real risks of what goes on in the Middle East. I mean, it is, a lot of courage, a lot of respect. Speaking of good universities, so shout out to Ave Maria University. We received very generous care packages from the university. So Erica, you will have some on the way.
I love care packages.
I got a fantastic note from someone at Ave Maria, very sweet handwritten letter about them being proud of me as an alumni, that I always have a home there. It was an awesome care package. Good news was I love my university. I met my wife there. I deepened my faith there. I was challenged intellectually there. So I just have to give a huge shout out to Ave Maria University. I think I don't have enough good things to say about them. And they really made me feel appreciated. They sent a great package. So if you're still looking at schools, maybe want to transfer the next coming semester,
Paging Catholic University.
Right. I will always put up Ave Maria as a great option. So thank you so much to Ave Maria. I'll be wearing some sweet merch, hopefully coming up here soon. Just super sweet. Made me feel really appreciated. The second note I have on that, actually it's not university, but I'm a sucker for a good like airplane meet story or conversation. Like I've actually had many very like interesting, awesome stories. And sometimes on the airplane, you don't want to talk. I get that. But then sometimes you find people really chatty. You're like, oh, you got a rosary in your hand. What's going on? I haven't been to church in all these years. Like I just have great conversations. One of the cutest stories I've seen in a long time. Adorable. This guy, Travis Hunter, he is a two-way star on the Jaguars, Jacksonville Jaguars. Got a huge win against the Chiefs at home. But he invited someone that he was on the plane with, just like a random plane, invited him to a game. So I'll share so this is him hugging a woman that he sat next to on a plane. And her name is Sandy Hawkins Combs. And he shared a flight with her back in May. And this is just like, you never know who you impact type story. So this is from the lady. I had the most wonderful flight home from Denver. I met the nicest young man who sat next to me. He offered to put my bag in the overhead compartment and help me with my tray. He was always polite, saying yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. Anyone would be proud to have him as a son or grandson. So polite. People walking by were saying, congratulations, great job, or even taking pictures. I turned and asked him, who am I sitting next to? I looked at his Jaguar pants, smiled, and asked, are you an athlete? He smiled and said, yes, I'm Travis. I was drafted by the Jags. I already told my sons I want his jersey. He's so humble and down to earth and would never have guessed he was a professional athlete. Jacksonville Jags, you did good. I will be buying tickets. United Airline, thank you for the seat assignment. You got a little picture of them smiling at the bottom. And then here he comes right after the game. Big smile, gives her a hug. Flew her out, got her a ticket. They're on the sideline here.
That's so classy.
Like, come on now.
I love it. That just warms my heart.
This is the best. This is why you always be nice to people you're with on planes. You never know, they could be a great professional athlete. You might get invited out to the sideline. So, he's just always got a big smile. I love Travis Hunter's energy. So I just thought that was a nice little story.
That was a great story. Good pick.
Man, yeah, I have so much more I want to say here, but
so much.
Oh,
we're gonna have to start Twitch streaming. I just found out what Twitch streaming was, and I'm like, we could do that. We have so much time.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know about that. Okay, I'll run into this quick because it reached the level of the Pope again, and now we get to talk about the Pope. So number one, great news: border crossings have reached the lowest level since 1970. And again, I actually feel like the immigration conversation is one of these things where you get the loudest people dominating the conversation. I think most people agree what was happening from 2020 to 2024, unless you're a politician that benefits from it, was just insane. I mean, 180 people from 180 different countries coming to the southern border on a dangerous journey where often they were sexually assaulted or murdered tragically. just to get in the country, where we let them in and gave them cell phone money, sometimes more money than American citizens, and wreaking havoc, of course, because it's just terribly managed and a lot of child trafficking happened. It's horrible. So
rewatching the footage of 10 to 12,000 people per day at the peak of the Biden administration, like it's stunning now to see that was happening every day.
Yeah, every day. It was like hard to even believe it was real, but it was. And so I would say, I got to give major credit to the Trump administration. They have came through on that promise, and I think that's a great win for the safety of everyone, including immigrants and Americans. So I'm really happy about that. Now we get Chicago and the National Guard deployment. So again, this is building up to Pope Leo commenting on this, but so here are the numbers. I'm just going to give you the quick information because we got to get into Twilight Zone. 300 from Illinois, nationalized.
This is National Guard troop numbers.
National Guard troop numbers, 300 from Illinois. This is federalized under Title 10 authority. Plus 200 to 400 from Texas. This was initially state activated. So in total, 500 to 700, potentially expandable at this point, were sent to Chicago. They were staging at Elwood Army Reserve Center, deployment to Chicago area ICE facilities, e.g. Broadview, for perimeter security. Troops are unarmed for arrests, but equipped with riot gear, and their mission is 60 days initial, extendable, focused on safeguarding federal officials during raids. Why would we have to safeguard federal officials during raids? You would think that people would be cooperating. Not true. So Operation Midway Blitz, as it's called, federal campaign, ramped up ICE and CBP raids in Chicago suburbs like Broadview. Starting in late September, protests have erupted outside of ICE facilities with reports of tear gas used against demonstrators, journalists, and even Chicago police. Part of that is because Chicago police is not cooperating with ICE. So we've had massive riots. We've had massive groups threatening ICE agents. It's really contentious. So you get a shooting incident, October 4th, 2025. A woman was shot by a CBP agent during a vehicle ramming attack on federal vehicles in Brighton Park. DHS described it as a defensive fire against an armed subject, but it fueled accusations of excessive force and intensified protests. So anyway, it's getting frisky out there. If we're getting into ramming federal vehicles and shooting, not great. So Mayor Johnson issued an executive order restricting Chicago PD from assisting federal agents. And I have the clip on that. He is starting these ICE-free zones, I guess is what's going on. So here's that.
Today, we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids. And today, we are signing an executive order.
Seems not legal.
No. And then here's J.B. Pritzker on it. Let's see what he's got to say.
Pritzker for president.
Frankly, let me just say that the secretary doesn't know what she's talking about. She frankly says that people are clapping. They're not. They're booing her on the street, and they're booing ICE and CBP. They're marching, the CBP marching on a beautiful Sunday in Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago. They're raiding neighborhoods where instead of going after the bad guys, they're just picking up people who are brown and black and then checking their credentials. Are you a U.S. citizen? I don't know about you, but I don't carry around papers that say I'm a U.S. citizen. So you can imagine people are getting detained. They're getting arrested, U.S. citizens. And they did this, of course, when they raided a building in the middle of the night in South Shore. 130 people that were emptied out of this building. They were going after a few gang members, and instead they broke windows, they broke down doors, they ransacked the place, and there were people that were held, elderly people and children zip-tied. Elderly people held for 3 hours at a time. They are the ones that are making it a war zone. They need to get out of Chicago if they're not going to focus on the worst of the worst, which is what the president said.
So quick response from the administration on that. We have last week, federal law enforcement conducted a targeted operation at a Chicago apartment building that resulted in the arrest of multiple terrorists, Tren de Aragua gang members, and violent criminals. And then children were never zip tied. This is a shameful and disgusting lie. And he really brushed back that pretty quick. He said, "Oh, they're going after a few gang members, few
or
foreign gang members."
Tren de Aragua. Yeah.
Now listen, I'll be the first to say, like, people in the chat are talking about, like, yes, they've detained people who unfortunately are not not illegal. I think also the smear that they're just rounding up brown and black people is outrageous as well from Pritzker. Anytime that there is a situation where excessive force is used or someone is detained unlawfully or whatever, like, yes, like I think we can all agree, like we'd be against that. And we want it to be remedied and we need the administration to be upfront about that.
100%.
That being said, you brushed over pretty quickly that there was foreign gang members in this apartment complex and that they have found many convicted rapists, so like they are going after the worst of the worst. And for the last 4 years, you let these people in. And now we're using language like Brandon Johnson that sneaky sounds a little, secessionist. Like, in what world do we live in where you could say, black people don't have rights in the state of Arizona, and federal government do something about it? Basically, like, yeah, we're not going to give them rights now.
Right.
Like that wouldn't hold up for a second. So there's a lot going on here that it doesn't pass the smell test, in my opinion. Like, to be kind of like casual about secession at a time like this is really problematic to me. So Erica, sorry, you had some thoughts on that.
No, 100%. I was just going to agree with you. I think that for Pritzker and Johnson to come out and also the head of the Chicago PD, like for them to come out and be like, okay, there's been these instances where ICE agents like abuse their power. Have those happened? Yes. Should we end those? Yes. Like we need to make sure that those aren't happening. But for them to be like, so the solution is for there to be ICE-free zones where these Trendewager gang members, by implication, can just run free and they know that no one's going to come after them.
Right.
And I mean, if I'm a citizen on the street in Chicago and I'm told, oh, you live in an ICE-free zone now? Like, you live in a police-free zone now? Like, Chaz, what is this? Like, are we're just going to say, well, there will be no law enforcement because there are instances where law enforcement is not carried out to the letter of the law or perfectly. That is not the solution. But I know that this isn't about actually being rational too. So I don't want to get too into like,
because JB is running for president, obviously, right. And he's choosing his presidential ambitions over actually protecting the citizens of Illinois or Chicago.
And Brandon Johnson, who knows what he's doing, but he doesn't care. He
also didn't he have like a room of gifts, like basically a room of bribes that they described. And he's like, nope, still staying in, dude. It's kind of my thing.
No, I just took some presents from my people.
So what I will say, on a philosophical note, if you do not enforce the laws in your country, in your state, it is the laws. We talk about subsidiarity all the time. Trump will do it for you, and he will make you look bad politically because. And they're like, oh, Trump's forcing the issue. Like, these people had gang members living next to them. How safe are you?
Right, you forced the
illegal gang members next to you, and you're allowing that because you're not enforcing law. Actually, you're working against the federal government to do that. So it's anyway, it's contentious, it's dangerous. I for sure have my thoughts on it. It has now reached Pope Leo, and I will play his response on this for Catholics everywhere.
Holy Father, President Trump has sent 400 National Guard troops to your city, Chicago.
Yes, I prefer not to comment at this time about choices made, political choices within the United States.
Yes. Yes. Who got to him? Yes. The learning curve from the Durbin debacle was steep and excellent.
So this is low-key my third good news because
I'm
actually happy about the Durbin thing. Because I think it was a great welcome to the league moment from the Pope to be like, I'm sure he saw the backlash. Durbin didn't get the award. The bishops all rally, and then they get to feel good about that. Scandal not caused. And Pope Leo learns of these like media moments and how they reach the country he's talking about. And he is a very methodical thinker. And for whatever, people love throwing out different clips on him as though he's somehow like, this radical left, free, open borders person. And then the right will throw out a clip. He's like, nations have the obligation to enforce their border. And like people, I love that he's just, okay, I don't know the full context. I'm going to look into it. And then when I do have the full context and I feel like it's necessary to make a statement on the political operation of a country, I will. Mm-hmm. And so now people don't get to run with it. The secular media doesn't get to run with it. So I think this is actually really good news in a lot of ways because yes, it's a super complicated, contentious political issue going on in America that as a nation, we need to litigate out in the court of public opinion, but also within our own laws. Like we're like borderline talking about insurrection here with these sanctuary cities, ICE policies, thwarting the government. So it's just like to insert yourself in that, not knowing everything and not having a full perspective and not having written out. I think isn't super positive for anyone. So I was really happy with that we got that.
Yeah, and I liked it too because it's also going to train the reporters to like actually ask him questions that he has expertise on and insight into. So it's going to train the reporters as well when they're accosting him outside of things. So great.
Yeah, the media is not your friend.
No, the media is not your friend.
No, don't do off the cuff. Yeah. So okay, Erica,
lesson learned.
Your Twilight Zone.
All right, yeah, this was crazy. Twilight Zone. No shockers here, but yeah, we once again have confirmation that we really hit Stasi levels under the Biden-Harris administration. Turns out Jack Smith, while in the course of investigating Donald Trump's reaction and supposed crimes surrounding the 2020 election, decided it would be fine to tap the phones and track the locations of 9 U.S. senators. I'll let you guess, Pogo, what political party those U.S. senators were.
I'm sure it was AOC, right?
Yeah, AOC was totally tired. She wishes she was a senator. She's going for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was Senator Chuck Grassley released this week FBI documents revealing that the Justice Department, again under Jack Smith's direction, analyzed the phone records and locations of 8 other, including himself, Republican senators and 1 House members. Let's look at the dates. January 4th through 7th, 2021. During the, quote, Arctic Frost investigation into election interference. This included Republican lawmakers Josh Hawley, Lindsey Graham, Ron Johnson, Marsha Blackburn, Cynthia Lummis, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, and Senator Mike Lee, our friend, along with Congressman Trent Kelly. So in addition to the senators, we had that. Yeah, I loved Mike Johnson's response, like just looking back at the years, what was the bullet that we dodged? And he said, well, to put it all in context, the Mar-a-Lago raid occurs August of 2022. Jack Smith announced the indictments against President Trump August 2023. And then 2 months later, because he knows he doesn't have what he needs, he's like, I have the man, but I need to find the crime. I know. I will go back and track the locations and cell phone usage of these senators so they cast the net even wider. It was a fishing expedition against members of the House and Senate. And again, we need to keep it in the forefront of our minds what the Biden administration was up to, because all this talk about, the death to democracy, threats to our democracy, what they were actually talking about is threats to our bureaucracy and our Stasi KGB level surveillance of our political opponents. That's exactly what was going on. And I love MSNBC comes out with a whitewashing campaign this morning, and they're like, everyone's like, far right-wing media is going bonkers over this. They're overreacting.
They're the worst. Republicans pounce.
Here's the direct quote. This was just a routine gathering of records.
Of course.
After the fact to determine who Trump was talking to when it came to the 2020 election. No, this was fishing for evidence when you knew you didn't have any for how many 92 indictments that you were bringing against him. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just a little update.
It's just a good reminder that Democrats got exactly who they deserved in Donald Trump. Exactly who they deserved. And every time they're mad about him skirting presidential authority, yada, 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 it's like, oh, what's he doing? Oh, exactly what you did.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
3 years ago. Oh, he's putting James Comey, like James Comey's going to get indicted. Oh my gosh, how could you persecute political opponents?
Yeah.
It's like,
and just
we were alive.
Yes, I am not a fan of smashing norms. I'm against smashing norms. I am against revolution in general because it's always really, really, really bad for the most vulnerable people among us. Like, who always ends up dying? The sick and the poor and the children.
But norms.
I'm not.
But norms is kind of like the conversion therapy argument. It's like norms shift depending on who gets to take advantage of them, right? Because what was the norm before all the Supreme Court justices started getting threatened at their homes all the time? It's like, oh well. Like this is the new norm. Like this is the new normal. The norms thing really annoys me because everyone's like, oh, defend the norms. Like the norms have benefited one party, and then when they decide it no longer benefits them, they switch. So Trump is just like an ultra honest version of what Democrats and liberals were doing before.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm just appreciate the honesty now at this point. It's like, hey, I think this is garbage, and I'm gonna do something about it. And then the norms is like the norms.
Yeah, the only norms I'm gonna lay down and die over are the 10 Commandments and the Beatitudes. Like other than that, norms come and go.
Right. It's like, was America any less America when we had religious tests for office on a state level? Like people would argue against
yeah,
that. I mean, you know what I mean? Like this whole thing about norms is just, I feel like it's very disingenuous and not effective anymore because we have someone in office
Because
that
we smashed them all
actually
multiple times.
does what he wants. Okay.
Who we got, Tom?
So,
I'm excited for you.
Here we go.
Everyone in the chat, buckle up because here comes Tom's Twilight Zone.
Who is Katie Porter? Katie Porter is currently the leading Democrat candidate for governor of California in 2026. Now, maybe not anymore after this. I will say this was almost reminiscent of any time Kamala Harris decided that she wanted to do an interview, which again, very rare. And the second, if you like a good laugh, go read through her memoir. It is hysterical and bizarre, just like her campaign. But this is a little reminiscent of like you're watching her do an interview and you're like, is she going to blow up? Is this going to be edited weird? Who knows? So we might have a little bit of that back. I'm going to share this video of Katie Porter getting interviewed.
California, Democrat?
California, she's getting asked very standard questions that other candidates running for governor of California, the 5th largest economy in, I think, is it the world? I think it's the world.
Yes.
Who would be in charge of that. So here's Katie Porter, how she performed during this contentious interview.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't
I
think
feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
Correct. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters. Okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care. I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never
reporter.
had to do this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you. And I don't want this all on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either.
I'm 12.
I would love to continue to ask these questions so that we can show our viewers what every candidate feels about every one of these issues that they care about. And redistricting, it's a massive issue. We're going to do an entire story just...
It's like 6th grade, I believe.
It's tough.
It's about the level, maybe 7th grade.
Again, kind of sick we're getting these again. Like I remember watching the CBS interview. I remember. So that's tough. And I was like, okay, Katie Porter, like where have I heard that name before? Oh yes. 2012, she was appointed by Attorney General Kamala Harris to be the state's independent monitor of banks. At the time, she became a member of the House of Representatives in 2018, lost a bid for the Senate in 2024 to Adam Schiff. So this isn't the first time. So unfortunately, she's been accused of having a toxic workspace environment. I don't know if this projects any of that.
Sounds familiar.
In her congressional office, including berating staffers, using racist language, and fostering a culture of fear. A former staffer claimed Porter ridiculed employees for reporting sexual harassment, mocked individuals whose parents died from COVID-19, and publicly dressed down a communications director over a minor setup error during a Facebook Live event.
But Tom, she only did those things because she wanted to have a positive experience.
Well, and she's a leader.
And she's a leader.
Right.
Right.
She's a leader. Her office had a 65% staff turnover rate, 4 times the congressional average. Multiple anonymous accounts describing her as a rage-filled boss who lost her temper during fundraising calls.
Are we describing Kamala Harris here? Because this is like the same.
No.
There's
so funny. I have more on the lost Adam Schiff. She accused Adam Schiff of rigging the election.
She's an election denier.
Therefore, making her an election denier. And she has since apologized for those comments.
This is insane.
Yeah. I mean, this is like Twilight Zone stuff. She also, and we know, unfortunately, 2013 divorce from ex-husband Matthew Hoffman. Court documents detailed accusation of abuse. Hoffman alleged Porter threw a pot of boiling mashed potatoes on his head in 2006, scalding his scalp, requiring medical attention. Also claimed she shattered a glass coffee pot, cutting him with shards, engaged in verbal tirades, calling him names like dumb, bit, and then effing evil. Now, all of those things bad. I mean, all those
Not
things,
good.
unhappy experience, maybe I would say. So this is usually when something like that happens, you're like, okay, there were signs. Here is, I almost forgot about this one. This is why I remember it, because I think I tweeted about it a while back. Here's her in an interview on the issues.
Yes.
Not great. This might be the worst of all.
So on election night, I went to pick up my daughter from water polo practice, and she's 12, and she got in the car and she was crying. And I said, did someone punch you? Like, water polo is a rough sport. I was like, did someone hit you? Did the coach yell at you? What happened? And she said, Mom, Trump won. Trump's going to win. And what if I get raped and I need to have an abortion? This is from a 12-year-old, my 12-year-old daughter. And so it was really a reminder of how scary this time is for people, and how important it is for Democrats to have strategies, both at the state level and the federal level, to make sure that we can continue to protect people's rights.
We have some that personality disorder going on here.
I'm concerned a genuine psychopath might become the next governor. And that would be to follow up Gavin Newsom. No 12-year-old knows about that. You put that in her head.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting.
Exactly.
Why would you fearmonger your 12-year-old like this? She doesn't know what she's saying.
Why would a 12-year-old even know about like rape?
This to me, out of all of it, yes, you can be you're abusive on record with all these people. You were violent with your husband, apparently, and you blew up in this interview being really nasty. And that's kind of the iceberg of all this. If you're doing this to your children, if this is somehow an ideology that you want to put forward to a 12-year-old, that's disgusting. And
you should not be in public office.
No.
Your party.
Are you kidding me? This is like the Wakanda Forever thing.
This is like the J. Jones thing in Virginia, where you're like, okay, if someone is saying he fantasizes about putting bullets in his political opposition's head and watching his opposition's children die in their mother's arms, that should disqualify you from office. This kind of behavior from someone should disqualify her from office. Like, a sane political party would get themselves together in their leadership and be like, she might not be our best candidate, right? Like, this might not be the person to put all our eggs behind, or whatever you want to say, whatever the metaphor is.
2026 lead candidate right now. Go check the polls. I don't know who would replace, but I mean, this person genuinely scares me.
Yeah, there's some like narcissist, some sort of disorders.
There's something going on. I'm not
mentally they're healthy.
Yeah, it's like, and it's funny. I mean, like, how combative was Trump with reporters, and yet never reached the level.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, at the end, they kind of laugh. Like, you're like, oh, okay, like, this is kind of Trump. He's just able to go in these situations, whatever. I'm like, that was. I thought she might shoot this person. That was bad. That was bad.
Is she trying to be Trumpian, or is she just so convinced that like the media is so in her back pocket she can treat this female reporter any way she wants?
Erica, I almost forgot. I forgot. What? She went on Bill Maher and Piers Morgan and was like talking about the boys and women's sports issue. And she's like, well, this is actually all about Riley Gaines making it all about herself. Like she's a charlatan and doesn't whatever. And Piers Morgan's like, well, actually, the guy who won the race won by 50 seconds as was a man in the pool. Like, I don't understand how that's. And then Bill Maher dumped on her and she's kind of sitting there like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. Rough, man. I don't know. Democrats have been putting up some real stinkers lately with Jay Jones and Katie Porter. So I will be following Katie Porter with renewed interest to see what else comes of this. Because I really do enjoy
endless
good
Twilight
contentious
Zone
interview.
material for Pogo.
Okay.
We need prayer. We need
prayer. We need prayer. We need prayer for this episode, of course. Again, coming this week. So So Thursday, we're gonna have another great episode of The Deep. Actually,
oh my gosh, so excited.
Mississippi Miracle.
Mississippi Miracle. Guys, this is a really fun one, and it was like uplifting for a change. So I was pumped about this script. So tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, Mississippi Miracle is gonna drop. Make sure you share it and watch it. It's great. Great news.
And then Friday, so Josh is gallivanting around Spain, having a great time,
kilometers.
Putting on 10,000 kilometers or whatever he's doing. So he'll be out. Eric will be out. So I have this great interview with, his name is Bob Rucker. He is the only person on the planet conducting nuclear tests on the Shroud of Turin. And he was one of the most delightful. I mean, the guy is just, I could have done 3 hours with him. I did an hour and a half. And that wasn't even enough.
These are nuclear tests on the Shroud of Turin.
It wasn't even enough. I mean, this guy, his theory, he had a great view on science. He had a great view on his theories. He was talking about string theory when it comes to the resurrection. I mean, it was awesome. So, hey, that's coming Friday. I'll premiere it. So you guys can enjoy it together and hang out in the comment section. But yes, that's coming. It's going to be awesome. So get ready for that. But we will end in prayer today. Today we have Our Lady of Good Remedy. And I was told to slow down in the prayer. Thank you. Thank you. I need you to slow down in the prayer. It's the most important part, of course. And pray your rosary.
Amen.
So I'll start with the prayer here. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Lady of Good Remedy, source of unfailing help, grant that we may draw from thy treasury of graces in our time of need. Touch the heart of sinners, that they may seek reconciliation and forgiveness. Bring comfort to the afflicted and the lonely. Help the poor and the hopeless. Aid the sick and the suffering. May they be healed in body and strengthened in spirit to endure their sufferings with patient resignation and Christian fortitude. Dear Lady of Good Remedy, source of unfailing help, the compassionate heart knows a remedy for every affliction and misery we encounter in life. Help me with thy prayers and intercession to find a remedy for my problems and needs, especially for the Loopcasters. Dear Lady of Good Remedy, be ever present to me, and through thy intercession, may I enjoy health of body and peace of mind, grow stronger in the faith and the love of thy Son, Jesus. Pray for us, O Holy Mother of Good Remedy, that we may deepen our dedication to thy Son and make the world alive with his Spirit. Amen. St. Thomas More, St. Fidelis, Our Lady of Guadalupe, pray for us.
Amen.
And we'll catch you guys on Friday with that interview. We got Deep on Thursday and then back live on Monday.